Buzzing out Pluto, buzzing out Pluto.
She said you got.
Hi ROTC. Hi Surgeon.
All discussions, topics, or situations shown in this video should not be considered entertainment. What you are about to see was created to be educational, documentational, and recorded for future references to the interest of the public at large. Our content is not perfect, so you should always seek the proper counsel before making a final decision.
Hey, what you doing?
Just
Oh, okay. All right. You didn't expect me to see me in here, right?
say, I like it. You're
Yes.
good. No, I'm sorry. You're good.
Yes, yes. You drunk again? You been drinking again? You gotta do better. You gotta do better. All right, Carmen, I'll see you later. I'm on the clock right
All right,
now.
baby.
God bless you.
Love you, baby.
Love you too. Jehovah's Witnesses.
How are you?
Doing great. Enjoy life forever.
Have you asked yourself if it's possible to enjoy life forever?
Oh, I got it right there.
Oh, evangelist.
Yes.
Minister.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a watchman, actually.
Okay.
So what I do is I go and warn the people. You know Ezekiel in the Bible goes out and warns the people of judgment that is coming. Sometimes people confuse me with being a Jehovah's Witness, but I'm not. I'm just a follower of Christ. In the book of Acts, they said the way, right? They are part of the way. So, you know, enjoying life. So, I have a couple of questions for you guys. What's the difference between you and me?
In what
How so?
sense?
The difference between you and me. I mean, I'm not Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
I'm a witness of Christ, of what He's done in my life. But what is the difference between this and this?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. If you're asking what our
Well,
beliefs
you
are.
guys, yeah. So the difference between you, who you are right now, and standing here passing out booklets, and a person like me, I'm a Christian. So are we going to heaven, or do I need to become a Jehovah's Witness to get into heaven?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, because you know what I'm saying.
Mostly of the reason why we're here,
Yeah,
and we go witness to different people in the community.
yeah. I just got done witnessing to people on the system, so
Right.
so we're on the same team, right?
Yeah. Like we are.
Amen.
So, what's your how can I call you?
Yokas,
Yokas. I'm Rick. This is Bianca. Pleasure
Nice
to meet you.
Bianca,
Rick.
and Rick. Amen.
Yokas.
Yes.
I never heard that name before.
That's I never heard my own name either
Really?
until the Lord gave it to me.
unique.
Yes.
Does it
Yes.
have any meaning?
To break the yoke of bondage.
Interesting. So, Yokas, the reason that we're here,
Uh huh.
similar to what you mentioned before, we believe as Christians that Christ is the way, and He gave us a good example of what to do. And as you know, He dedicated most of His adult life after He was baptized to the ministry,
Uh huh.
to giving a chance for other people to get to know good news,
Yes.
the good news of God, right? So as Jehovah's Witnesses, we take on that same approach that Jesus had, the model that He left for us while He was on earth. And we take every opportunity that we can to talk to other people about the Bible. And we found that in our personal belief, when we study the Bible, our lives are better. We have moral code that we can abide by. We
A moral code.
structure.
A structure.
We have structure, and we get to enjoy a happy life, even though we're following the guidelines of the Bible. And that's what we show people too. Whoever is interested, we share with them good news from the Bible. We talk to them about things that have helped us and we believe can help them. And some of them become Jehovah's Witnesses from what they learn. But a lot of people that we preach to don't. But they still benefit from that teaching from the Bible.
Who funds this?
Everything that is the Jehovah's Witnesses organization worldwide is funded by voluntary donations.
Here's how it works. Most of their money comes from 3 places: property sales, stocks, and donations. Here's what happens with the donations. They're a little different than a lot of other churches in the sense that they don't pass around a collection plate or anything. They just have a donation box somewhere near the literature counter in every Kingdom Hall. People are encouraged to give 10% of their monthly income to it, but they aren't heavily pressured or guilted on a personal basis. You just drop what you can into the donation box. Then the presiding overseer deposits it into the Kingdom Hall's bank account, and they go to this website and transfer the money from their account to the Watchtower Society's account. The website, card processing, and everything else is all run by the Watchtower Society. That's for typical donations, not for all donations. So in most cases, transaction fees actually go to them. So they're actually making money off of the transaction too. But like I said, that's really not a big percentage of where the money comes from. We'll get into that in a second. As I was saying, Jehovah's Witnesses don't really push people to donate as much as with other religions. With Mormons, you have to pay 10% of your monthly income to the church. The deacon or bishop or whoever it is will come around and ask you point blank if you settled up and paid your 10%. He'll look at your tithing record for the year and decide if he thinks you're actually making that much, based on what you're driving and wearing and where you're living. That kind of thing. Super invasive. Even the kids in Mormonism have to give 10% of their allowance. They have fast offerings too, where you're supposed to skip 2 meals on Sundays and give the church the money you saved by skipping that food. They're almost literally taking the food right out of your mouth. Jehovah's Witnesses are a little more subtle about their corruption. Not to mention that Jehovah's Witnesses encourage their people not to go to college or get good jobs. So if Jehovah's Witnesses aren't really making a ton of money from their members' donations, where's all the money coming from? We'll get to it. Now let's talk about stocks. I took a screenshot of the charitable planning stuff on their website. Here's what it says. In addition to gifts of money and valuable personal property, there are other ways to benefit Kingdom service worldwide. These are listed below. Insurance and retirement plans. A donation made by specifying an entity used by Jehovah's Witnesses as the beneficiary of a life insurance policy, individual retirement account, or a retirement pension plan. Bank accounts. Bank accounts may be made payable on death to an entity used by Jehovah's Witnesses in accord with local bank requirements. Stocks and bonds. Stocks and bonds donated to an entity used by Jehovah's Witnesses as an outright gift or by means of a written agreement to transfer on death. Real estate. Saleable real estate donated to an entity used by Jehovah's Witnesses, either by making an outright gift or, in the case of residential property, by reserving a life estate to the donor, who can continue to live in the residence during his or her lifetime. Wills and trusts. Property or money may be bequeathed to an entity used by Jehovah's Witnesses by means of a legally executed will or by specifying the entity as the beneficiary of a trust agreement. This agreement may provide certain tax advantages. So basically they're saying that people can deed their houses to the Watchtower Society, or their stocks and bonds, or whatever else. They came up with what they called the master plan. They started sharing Kingdom Halls between congregations and assigning people to different halls. They noticed that if a Kingdom Hall could seat, say, 300 people, and the congregation had 300 people assigned, but only 220 show up, they could move 80 regulars from another Kingdom Hall into the first one to max out seating. They could do that with every Kingdom Hall in the country to maximize attendance and minimize empty chairs. Airlines do that kind of thing all the time. It's called overbooking. They see that on average, say 20% of the people on the flight from Sydney to Dallas don't show up or cancel the flight for some other reason. So they'll sell 15% more tickets and end up with a full plane. When everybody shows up though, that's when it becomes a problem for the airlines. You have to refund tickets and put them on another plane, and it can cause big problems. Sometimes it leads to people involuntarily being dragged off planes. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked again. As I was saying about the Watchtower Society, after overbooking their kingdom halls, they find themselves with an empty kingdom hall. Then they sell it off to make a ton of money from the sale. It's honestly a smart way to do it. The problem is that they're moving people into other congregations without regard for friendships or families. They don't care who goes where ultimately, because if they split friends or families up, it just means they have to lean more heavily on the congregation and on quote-unquote Jehovah, aka the Watchtower Society. I understand that the people at the very top, the leadership, couldn't possibly know what kind of relations or friendships people have, but they could tell the elders, we need 80 people moved from this congregation to that one. And the elders, the people who are in close proximity to these people every day, the people who know what relationships and friendships there are, could work with the people to decide who goes where. Instead, it looks like the Watchtower Society is just providing a list of people to the elders and telling them where they want them to go. And they're putting out propaganda pieces to reinforce it. Check this one out.
Let's just say some struggled with the idea.
Paula, did you see? They have us going to the South congregation and everybody else from our group is going to North.
Yeah, I saw that. My aunt and cousins will be going there too.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. They should keep you together. Well, at least the brothers said that the list was just a recommendation.
Well, they didn't say it exactly like that. They said if we had extenuating circumstances.
So you don't have to go if you don't want to go.
But Kim, if everyone did that, don't you think...
Hi, Sister Taylor.
Oh, hello, girls.
I saw your name on the list for the South congregation, but your grandkids and their families, they're going to North. So what are you going to do?
What do you mean?
Well, are you going to North or are you going to South?
Now, sweetie, didn't you say you saw my name listed under the South congregation?
Yeah, but...
So, I'll be going to the South congregation.
Well, don't you think it would make more sense if you were in the same congregation as your grandkids and their families?
Does it make more sense? Well, that's a whole different question. The brothers outlined an arrangement. They said they hoped we could support that arrangement, unless we had extenuating circumstances, and I don't have any right now. So, for me, it's simple. Whether I think it makes sense or not, I'm going to support that arrangement. Oh, look, girls, I've got to go. Oh, and by the way, I hope to see you both in the South congregation.
So much to dissect. I will contain myself. But FYI, I've already done a rebuttal to this video. It's in the card in the corner if you want to check that out. So there are exemptions, but they don't happen often. And they made it clear that you're splitting up my family isn't a valid reason for an exemption. From my understanding, it takes some real convincing to be granted an exemption in the first place. Most of the time, the kingdom halls are being sold off anyway, so there is no exemption from moving. But there might be one for moving to one hall instead of another. As I said though, they're very uncommon and the Watchtower Society is really pushing this obedience bit. So they got these kingdom halls for next to nothing, and now they're liquidating them for a clean profit. They're putting the one set of skills their members have to use: building. That's where their money comes from. And if they need more money, they can have congregations of people build new kingdom halls and then sell off the older ones. Now there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, and that's the headquarters, Bethel. As I mentioned earlier, they had property in Brooklyn, Wallkill, and a bunch of other locations. They just closed one of them and sold it off for a ton of money, then had their slave labor build a new headquarters in Warwick. They are what essentially amounts to cult compounds. In fact, that's exactly what they are. They're compounds. They're closed off to the public outside of special tours of a public-facing portion of the facilities. Only the best of the best, the most spiritual of the most spiritual, make it to Bethel to live on the compound and work for the Watchtower Society among the leaders. They have maids who come in and clean the rooms, and you have no right to privacy. The maids have the right to go through everything you own if they want, and report it to the leadership if they find something questionable. Like, for For example, certain books, certain movies, or magazines. I was going to list certain games, but you really don't have time to play games. It's heavily discouraged at best in Bethel, and in some cases outright banned. Your job is to serve the Watchtower Society when you're there, and people spend their entire lives there sometimes. Literally 40, 50 years. You live and breathe Watchtower Society. It's a lot like the military in the way your schedule is carefully regimented. Not to mention the fact that they just kick your ass out on the street when you're too old to work. No retirement plan, no skills you can use in the real world, no nothing. They just tell them to go home to their families when they can't work anymore. No freeloaders. And what do? They can't get a job. They're too fucking old. They live off of Social Security and hope that the family they left behind 30 years earlier is still Jehovah's Witness and is still willing to accept them into their homes. I don't think I've ever pointed out that Bethel is the cult compound of the Jehovah's Witnesses before, and that's because I didn't really realize it until recently, because I grew up viewing it as this fantastic place to which everybody wanted to go. But that's exactly what it is. It's a compound that's designed to pump out propaganda. They have a writing staff for their literature, a graphics design staff for their Caleb and Sophia videos, an engineering staff for their app and website, the whole 9 yards. They even send people to law school to work for them as their lawyers. It's very interesting, and it probably deserves closer examination at some point, but for the moment we'll leave it at that. Before moving on, there is one more thing I want to mention about it. I don't think most people spend their lives there. I think most of the time they'll go there for a few years, maybe a decade. Then they'll go back to their home congregations and become elders or whatever else. So anyways, that's how the Watchtower Society makes their money, through a mix of donations from their members, having things deeded to them, stocks, bonds, wills, investments of various sorts, and exploiting the labor of their members by having them build kingdom halls and liquidating the old ones over and over again until they have what they need. So here's the main question. Are they solvent? Can they survive as they are without finding a new source of income? What's bankrupting them right now? Why are they having such serious financial issues? Here's the answer. They would be perfectly solvent if it weren't for the fact that they're paying out the nose for lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Candace Conti, Jose Lopez, and any number of other abuse cover-up cases and class action lawsuits. That's where their money's going. If they didn't have to deal with all these lawsuits, I imagine they'd be in much better shape than they are. And they're still racking up $4,000 a day in fines until they release the 23,000 names they're hiding. If you're interested, I put a link to a news article about that in the description. I think they'd be able to survive off of donations, investments, and property sales if it weren't for these lawsuits burying them at every turn. So we just need to keep it up. Can't let them get away with the human rights violations and flagrant disregard for ethics, morals, and law.
Who funds this?
Everything that is the Jehovah's Witnesses organization worldwide is funded by voluntary donations. You go to a meeting of ours, you never see a collection plate, you never see anybody asking you for money. It used to be back in the 50s that these magazines would have like a price tag on them, a quarter or something like that.
Yeah, and then you guys stopped that.
Donation. Now it's whatever people want to donate.
So this is mine for free.
Yes.
This is yours?
Just
Okay.
like Jesus said.
You can take.
You
Freely-
received it for free, give it for free.
The Watchtower is a billion-dollar corporation with assets totaling in the billions worldwide. Watchtower claims that they are not like the churches when soliciting money from its followers, but the evidence shows they are just as greedy, showing that they are even willing to take money from children and the poorest of their followers. I want to leave you with this question. Do you think that the Watchtower organization is still a publishing company masquerading as a religion, or have they become more of an investment corporation? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you like this content. Bye for now.